Morning or afternoon, I guess it is. Um, so here we are this morning. Here we are today, and I just have a couple of things that I want to share. Um, going to share, um, and I'll start with a little story. Um, you know, my focus of this has shifted a bit, and I want to. I'm going to. My plan is to spend, this however long. Working with or helping people to understand and kind of live with or deal with the whole disease of alcoholism and addiction. And I call it a disease. I mean, you know everybody calls it a disease, and although some people disagree, and that's okay. It's like it, it doesn't really matter. The truth is that the alcoholic or the addict um, is caught in some sort of a trap. Let's call it a mental illness, and in that mental illness, it's very very difficult to be able to tell the truth from fiction. Okay, so mostly what I'm doing right now is speaking to the families and friends of alcoholics and addicts. That's just, and almost everybody has an alcoholic or an addict somewhere in their home and or their family, and and we've, because we really crave position. We want to know, we want to understand. We've either decided that, we don't talk about that person anymore, or we don't take that person's calls anymore, or we recognize our own helplessness when we're dealing with, alcoholics and addicts. And now the story I want to tell you is that about this lady that called last night. I mean, I feel so grateful that she felt she could reach out to me, and we've never met before. She was a friend of a friend's, and her friend, one of her close girlfriends, is going through, and has been for probably quite a few years, the different stages of the disease of alcoholism. And this woman called me last night, and she said, "What do I do? How do I deal with my friend? How do I, you know?" And so we got into, what was her main concern. Well, you know, she had come to a place already where, she realized that she couldn't believe her friend, that her friend was, you know, the disease, alcoholism and addiction makes liars out of us, right? And because, it's all, we're deep in fear, and fear is always the father of the lie. And she said, I can't trust her. I can't really believe anything she says. And so she, she loves her friend as a friend. It's not she's in, but she's like, how do I be with her? What do I do for her when I can't trust her and I can't believe anything that she says? And so an interesting, hey Cami, an interesting position, that many of us have found ourselves in, and certainly, um, many of us have found ourselves in that position with loved ones, with family, with friends, and and often what we do is we just cut them off. We say, well, I can't trust them, and you know, we don't have much in common, so, and we end up sometimes cutting them off, even our own children, or our parents, and because we don't know, how to be with them in the disease. And it's a boy, it's a funny disease, because first of all, if you are alcoholic or addict, the prognosis is terrible. uh, uh, you know it really is. The very least, it's going to shorten your life, make it, somewhat miserable to boot. But and at worst, you're going to be dead quickly. In the book Alcoholics Anonymous, it says, jails, institutions, or death. That's the end. That's where we end up, and or we get recovery. And in the process of recovery, and this is where we got to. And in the conversation, this lady last night, had shared that her friend had been to the 12 steps, and see, in the in the 12-step world, we don't make anybody do anything. You know, we don't have, it's all 100% voluntary. You know, if your friend, if you have a friend or a family that's suffering from the disease of alcoholism, and they, you know, come to the 12-step world where there seems to be, you know, one of the few places where there's, you know, lasting hope for the alcoholic to recover, to have a, to create a new life, um, and that person gets a sponsor. Well, the sponsor will call them on their bullshit, you know, because the sponsor gets it, and where a therapist can't, in a way, because the therapist doesn't have the experience, and you know, the therapist isn't going to be there at 11 o'clock at night when we need help, you know, because the process of coming out of the depths of the disease, you know, because we're in the depths of the disease, we're living in fear, we're living in confusion, we're living in, you know, um, you know, we're all the symptoms, you know, are extreme anxiety, you know. So often, you know, the alcoholic goes to the doctor and presents with extreme anxiety, and the doctor gives him medication, which actually just in the long run makes it worse. Or depression. And the, you know, so the alcoholic, the addict, goes to the doctor and says, you know, I have these symptoms, I'm, you know, and the doctor describe, you know, looks at it and said, well, you're depressed, and they give them a medication for depression, and it compounds the problem. It's interesting that how uh, modern, you know, clinicians, hey Rick Beers, hey buddy, love you, how, you know, doctors, you know, and have, their hands are tied. It's like they, you know, they don't have anything else but medication. Generally, you know, encouraging word maybe, and you know, so the prognosis is not good. So the lady last night, I mean, she really shared, and my job as is as a listener, you know, and I listened and listened and listened, and she really, you know, she asked a lot of intelligent questions, and really described how she was feeling, and you know, and also, you know, she had some judgment on her friend as well. I mean, we get angry with our alcoholic and addict friends and family. We're like, shit, smarten up. And not really realizing at a depth that smartening up, if the alcoholic and the addict could smarten up, they would. You know, they want to. You know, but what happens is that no matter what, eventually, if we don't treat the root of the problem, we end up going back out, or we stay sober and miserable. And if any of you have ever lived with, or like what we call a dry drunk, you know, they're grumpy, and just, you know, or we white knuckling it, we call it. They're just hanging on, you know, so there's lots of pieces to the disease, lots of pieces to the disease, and so if you've got, you know, an alcoholic or an addict in your family, and you're, you know, wondering, what do I do with that person? Um, you know, it's a, my suggestion is often it comes down to prayer. I really think that my mother's prayers, I know this might sound crazy to some of you, my mother's prayers were the key to, you know, in my family, my, you know, siblings, all five of us have had sobriety at different times, and and you know, my mom was a huge. I can't imagine it being anything else but my mother's prayers. You know, the power of that. So, if you have a an alcoholic or an addict in your family, pray for them. Like literally. I mean, we don't have much else that we can do. We can't make them do anything. You know, we, you know, frothy emotional appeal doesn't work. There's not much else we can do. So that's my, you know, thing for you. I can't believe, did I actually, it looks to me like I've been on here for about 25 minutes talking. That's impossible. It's what it says. So, okay. So I'm going to quickly read. I think I have, where's my book? There it is. My gosh. I guess we won't do a meditation today if I've actually been on here this length of time. Um, can't see my glasses, so we're going to go it without. and the date is the 23rd of February. Okay, you guys, 23rd of February. Where are we? 26. And I've been reading from this book for a while. It's called the 24-Hour Day Book. And it was a book that was written a long time ago for, actually 1954 it was published, but it was written mostly in the 40s and then finally published in 54. And it was a support book, really, for people in addiction and people in AA. And in the early days, we didn't have any CA or NA or there were no other A's. Now there's like 200 programs, and so it works. Don't let your alcoholic or addict say that doesn't work, and because it does, period. And but there's the willingness and the desperation has to be there on their part. They have to be open-minded to get it, but it does work. So don't let them tell you it doesn't work. If your alcoholic comes to you and say, well, AA didn't work for me, bullshit. They didn't do it, period. They just didn't do it. And so tough love, baby. Tough love is sometimes the other tool that we have, maybe one of the only ones. So we have to be able to be, strong in those moments. Sometimes sometimes we have to cut them off. Money, places to live, a couple of nights in the mustard seed never hurt anybody. But it's a wake-up call, or the Alpha House, or wherever, the drop-in center. Those things are wake-up calls for the addict, the alcoholic. There's like, oh my God, grandma won't give me any more money. Great. Don't, grandma, and a little tough love never hurts. Okay, here we go. Now it says we can take an inventory of the good things that have come to us through the 12 steps. And just remind you again, I'm reading from the 24-Hour Day Book, and so I've been doing. To begin with, we are sober today. Beautiful. That's the biggest asset from any alcoholics books, on any alcoholics books. Yes, I'm sober today. That's right. No matter what complaints we have, our body the old body's getting old, and the joints creak, whatever. I'm sober today. That's number one. Sobriety to us is like goodwill in business. I'm on the wrong day. I was reading the 22nd. Let's go here to the 23rd. Besides our jobs, our families, our friends, and our sobriety, we have something else which many of us found through the 12 steps. That's faith in a power greater than ourselves, to which we can turn for help. Faith in that divine principle. Faith is in that divine principle in the universe, which we call God, and which is on our side as long as we do the right thing. Well, even if we don't do the right thing, it's all, that universal intelligence, that consciousness that we call God is always there. There have been many days in the past when, if we had taken an inventory, we'd have found ourselves very much in the red, without sobriety, and therefore without jobs, families, friends, and faith in God. We now have these things because we're sober. Do I make one resolution every day in my life to stay sober? That's it. My prayer in the morning for years and years and years was keep me sober today. Now my prayer in the morning is show me how I can help today. Show me how I can serve today. And I was teaching a guy yesterday, or sharing with a guy yesterday, and two small prayers that I have. One is thank you. Thank you is a prayer, can be a prayer. And the other one is help me. So it's not, if we ask for help, help comes. And no matter where we are. And sometimes we think we've been blessed with so much that we don't need to continue to ask. But I think that, help me is a great prayer. Show me what you have me to be. Show me what you have me to do. Help me. Thank you. Thank you is a beautiful prayer. So anyway, here I digress. Meditation for the day. Love the busy life. It says, love the busy life. It is a joy-filled life. Take your fill of joy in the spring. Live outdoors whenever possible. Sun and air are nature's great healing forces. That inward joy changes poisoned blood into pure, healthy, life-giving flow. But never forget that the real healing of the spirit comes from within, from the clothes, from the clothes, loving contact, the close loving contact with spirit, with your spirit, with God's spirit. Keep in close communion with God's spirit day by day. Yes. Prayer and meditation, baby. And then the prayer for the day, I pray that I may learn to live in the abundant life. I pray that I may enjoy a close contact with God this day and be glad of it. Okay, you guys. I can't believe it. Time just flew by. And thanks for being with me today. And love you. And love it if you go to YouTube and check in on the channel there. YouTube, we're reposting all this stuff on YouTube. So, yeah. And, if you're a recovered addict or an alcoholic and you're watching this, remember that our work isn't just with other recovered addicts and alcoholics, but it's also with their families. Be conscious of that and reach out to and support the families of, addicts and alcoholics. Lots of times they're very confused and have no idea and blame themselves and all kinds of stuff. And we can help them and guide them to recognize that we didn't cause this. We can't fix it, right? It's I think in Al-Anon they say a third thing. So we didn't cause it. We can't fix it. If you remember the third thing that they say in Al-Anon, maybe write it in there. But I can't write in this moment. But that's the deal. We didn't. So yeah, reach out to the families as well. Okay, love you guys. Thank you. And we're going to pass on the meditation today. But do it. Meditate. Take some time to sit still and quiet. Okay, love you. Bye.